BG in the house. Let me just check that this stream is up and running. Give me a second, guys. Let's have a look. My webcam isn't working for some reason, which is kind of odd because I've just done a little video on the channel right now. A post-fight review of Groves versus Cox is already up, and I was able to use it fine on that. So if you've got a huge insatiable urge to see what I'm wearing today, check out that recent video that's gone up. I assure you nothing has changed in the interim. So we're getting started a few minutes early here. Let me just take the time to put a link up on my Twitter and on my Facebook. So anyone who wants to join in can do. Had some extremely exciting news that my good pal and regular sparring partner, Irish Tom, is going to be joining us on this live stream imminently. So that'll be cool. Won't just be myself, and we can get some interactivity rocking and rolling. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Broken Nose, Team Groves. Well, I'm Team Groves. Simple Boy, Thomas, Leon, Stuart, Archie, M-Star, The Wizard, Daniel, Curtis, Sahale, Louis, Kendall, Moto, Lego, Daniel. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thanks to Mark, Boxing Fan, Ed Harris. Thanks to everyone. Teabag. I'm just going to try one more time, see if I can get this webcam to work. It's not working at all, guys, but you know, it doesn't really matter, does it? You don't come here to see my beautiful face, do you? You come here to chat boxing. So we'll continue webcamless, and as I say, we'll have Irish Tom in a little bit. See some more people joining. Mr. Yip, Shogun, DJ Slicks, Mikey, Curtis, still in America, DJ Slicks, returning Monday. Sort of Monday evening, Tuesday morning sort of vibe. Mark joining. So we got about 50 of you guys jumped on already. Thanks to everyone who's joined. Please hit the thumbs up button if you are with us. That'll mean this will get out to a wider audience. More people will see it. We'll get more people joining. So let me start by telling you, Paddy Power have been the first bookmaker to react to tonight's fight. They are the first bookmaker to update their market following on from what we have witnessed tonight. Paddy Power start with Chris Eubank Jr. as a 4-6 on favourite. You put £6, you win £4. George Groves, the reigning champion, Paddy Power have made him 6-5. You put £5 on, you win £6. So they're saying Eubank Jr. is a slight favourite in a competitive fight. And, you know, I'm sure that's a market that is going to change rapidly as we head towards the action. I can see I've been joined by the one and only Irish Tom. So let's cut the crap. Let's bring him in straight away for the Irish takeover. Irish, your thoughts on this evening's action, mate?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Try say something more.
Hello.
I mean, you're coming through. It's a tiny bit echoey. I think we can probably work with it, and let's just hope it improves, mate.
Yeah, well, it's probably at your side because I got headphones on. So
okay, let me see if I can adjust. Try again.
Yeah, I can't hear an echo now. I did at the start.
Basically, you know, you do that Dalek thing, mate, where your voice kind of comes through like a sort of slightly Dalek-y. That's what you're sounding like right now. You're right. It could be my side.
No, can you hear me better now? No.
Oh no, it is your side, mate. It's the guys in the chat saying that. Yeah. Okay, Irish has jumped off. Let's see. Hopefully, he can jump back on. We usually have sound issues with Irish, but he's usually able to get it fixed by turning it off and on again. So bear with us for a little bit of time, and we'll continue to get this to get this rolling. But as I was just saying, Paddy Power making George Groves a 6-5 against underdog in this fight. Paddy Power making Chris Eubank Jr. a favourite. Let's do a quick poll of the chat while we're waiting for Iris to come back on. It's going to be a simple question: Eubank or Groves? Put your comment in the chat and I'll read it out live, and we'll see what the perception is as to who we think out of the 50 odd people watching. Carpets picking Eubank, Mikey on Eubank, Jordan on Eubank, Paul, difficult, Wizard Eubank, Zing Groves, Mikey Eubank, Stuart Eubank, Jordan Eubank, Team Groves, George Groves, Leon Eubank, Sahel Eubank, Archie Eubank, Tivatup Eubank, Jake Groves, Pete Big Chief Groves, Beth Eubank, Dan Eubank, Simple Boy Eubank, Andy Eubank, Daniel Eubank, Damien Eubank, Tony Eubank, Ed Eubank, Archie Eubank, Paul Eubank, Jake Groves, Mark Groves, Thomas Eubank, David Eubank, Mark Eubank, Boxing Eubank, Archie Eubank. So look, I'm trying to keep up with all of that. Jake Smith Groves, Howard Groves, T. Eubank, Lewis Eubank, Lewis Groves, Archie Eubank, DJ Slicks Eubank, M Star, IO, both Eubank, Mitchell Groves, Sogun Eubank, Benjamin Eubank, Paul Eubank, loads of Eubanks. I'm getting there 80 to 90% saying Eubank. So there's a little snap poll from the chat. Tom, let's try again. How you doing?
How's it going? Can you hear me?
Lot better, mate. Let me just turn your volume up at my end. But that is a lot better. Cool. So 65 of you watching live for the Irish Tom. Tom, give us your take on what you saw tonight, mate.
Well, I missed the first couple of minutes of the first round, and I kind of came into Cox putting it on him. Jesus, George Groves is some fragile boxer, isn't he?
I mean, he is and he isn't. I think he looks uncomfortable in that, but at no point did he look like he was going to go down, you know. I was actually, I mean, you know what I'm like with my scoring. I was actually scoring the rounds to Groves, but I know what you mean. There was that kind of like innate vulnerability about him that you thought he could go down or could get hurt at any point, I guess.
Well, Cox was more dangerous looking than Chudenov, I thought. I thought Cox was landing clean left hooks repeatedly. You know, the Cox that came to fight here was a lot better than the Cox we saw in the last couple of times. You know, he was obviously up for it and well trained. I was just about to send a tweet when he got knocked out saying Cox is really landed that left hook, and it's not looking good for George Groves. It's lucky I didn't send the damn thing, because literally I was just about to hit send and he got wiped out. But anyone can get wiped out with a body shot. I don't even think Cox took much damage from Groves. Groves was trying to, key him up for the big right hand, but Groves was a lot of head movement. His defense was actually reasonably good. He just got caught with a body shot when he was swinging. You know,
Cox's defense was good, or Groves's defense was good.
Cox's was good compared to what we've seen.
Defense was some of the worst I've ever seen, mate.
You thought he was the worst defense you've ever seen?
Some of the worst defense I've ever seen, I thought. Yeah.
I don't know. He's a pressure fighter, man. He's going to get hit. He was using a lot of head movement. He wasn't.
I actually noticed, and Groves did refer to this in a post-fight interview. If you look at Groves, the amount of times he landed that big straight right to the body, he was really finding that shot and he was leading off with it. I also thought Groves was countering quite nicely. I thought he was quite cute on the ropes, you know. I just thought Cox was like a counterpuncher's dream in that fight. But he still made Groves look very uncomfortable, don't get me wrong.
Look, I think, I thought Jamie Cox performed well, Groves is not renowned as a big body puncher. You know, he landed a good shot. You got to give it to him. But like Eubank could be licking his lips looking at that. Imagine Eubank getting on the inside. Groves, if Groves can't keep Jamie Cox off, how the hell are you going to keep Eubank off? And Eubank landed that uppercut. That fight won't go 4 rounds.
I was actually surprised at how easy it was for Cox to position Groves up against the ropes. You know, I really was surprised. Groves has always been quite a dynamic mover. You know, there wasn't that much of that today. I didn't think the Groves jab was as on point as I've seen it in the past. You know, Cox's trainer at the end of round 1 was saying, don't get sucked in straight away, you know, take him a few rounds. If Cox had listened to that advice, who knows if the fight had gone differently. But yeah, for me, it's a major concern that Cox was able to get Groves into the corner like that, Tom.
Yeah, like, and I think, you know, I think his trainer is probably right. If he had it like kind of half box with Groves and just try to avoid Groves for 4 or 5 rounds and literally just make him a bit tired and then put 4 rounds of hell for leather on him, I don't think he's standing up. You know, God, you know, I just think George Groves is not much good. Cam Smith's not much good. Who else? We got the Brandon and another guy left. You know, the super middleweights as a division, I don't think is that good. If George Groves is a top 4 or 5 fighter, you know, I think Groves is just a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, it's funny. Watching that, I actually thought, I know it's a ridiculous thing to say as he's a reigning world champion and he's obviously in this tournament making huge money. I actually think Groves would now be better off at 175. You know, he looks like a zombie at the weigh-ins, and you just wonder how much it takes out of him because he's looking more and more fragile, and as he's getting older, it can't be getting any easier to make that 168-pound limit. He's looking more and more vulnerable, and a guy like Eubank, I mean, you see this in boxing a lot. You have these well-regarded tough guys like Yildirim and Cox, and they're tough men, but you know, it doesn't matter how tough you are, if you're getting caught clean, you can get hurt. And you kind of wonder with Eubank, you know, Eubank hasn't really fought a puncher in his career to date. You kind of wonder if Eubank's still got a little bit of an unknown about his resistance, but based on what you've seen, you know, he just gives the impression he's a guy who's not going to be stopped like a Cox or a Chudinov, I guess.
Yeah, well, like against Billy Joe Saunders, he never looked even slightly phased by any shot that was landed. And Billy Joe landed a fair bit on him. You know, where like other fighters, say like Andy Lee, were rocked by Billy Joe Saunders a number of times. You know, I'm not saying Billy Joe's a hard hitter, but like Eubank didn't make a dent on him. And I just, you know, George Groves, yeah, maybe he should be at 175. I don't think it'll make much of a difference. I just think his speed is kind of gone. He's not as dynamic. He's looking more and more like a shaved pig every day. You know, I just can't. I can't see Eubank not being able to put 6 or 7 fast shots together. You know, because George Groves not even that fast looking anymore.
Yeah. Somebody, I mean, when you look back at him in the Carl Frost fight, he was such an explosive fighter, wasn't he? You know, he really was. And, you know, you kind of wonder if some of that's been lost a bit, and he's kind of forcing his work a bit more. Oh, there we go. I finally got the webcam working, so you can see my face, Iris.
Give us a look. Give us a look.
Give us a look. There you go. Hopefully it's come live now.
You're not that guy who was found, who just came back from Afghanistan with his wife and missus. It was all backpacking. That's not you, is it, Gossip?
You know what? I've actually missed that story. I assume I've missed it being out in the States, but yeah, I presume coming from you that would be a sort of highly inflammatory and offensive remark, Tom, that I will just do my best to ignore. Hey.
No, it's just, anyway, but he's look, the Cox, like, do you see what I meant by Cox, that he had a chance in that? Like, he's not just useless.
Yeah. No, he's not. That I said. I don't know if you've seen my post-fight video yet, but I said it was his best performance I've ever seen from Cox. Even though he got smashed up in a few rounds, he showed that he's actually a fighter of some note. And I know he's 31, but there's potentially some fights still out there for him after that. I guess he can come again.
He can definitely come again, and you know what? Like, he'll be in good fights. The thing is, like, he's got a great action style. Maybe he'll have one of a long career, but he doesn't have many miles on the clock. He didn't take a beating off George Groves. He just got hit with a body shot. He didn't even take many shots from George Groves. I don't think Groves caught him clean. I don't think Groves rocked him. I think in the middle of the fourth round, he was on the back foot a little bit because I think the body shots might have been getting to him a bit. But, like, body shots is not the thing that actually, I don't think, ends your career. It's taking headshots and taking going hard rounds. And I don't think that fight will do him any harm. Like, and, it's the kind of irony of the thing. You see it, like, after he was able to get up, he looked grand. He was just walking around the ring. So,
yeah, were you a little bit surprised? I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm never someone who calls fighters out for quitting, and I'm not suggesting for 1 second that Cox bottled it or anything like that. That's not my intention. But I was a little bit surprised he didn't make the count. Did you ever take on that, Tom?
All I know is that I was in my parents' gaff about 7 or 8 years ago, and I was getting out of the shower in the bath, and there was some water on the floor, and I fell over, and I slipped, and I caught my ribs and my ribs were like on the edge of the bath, sharp edge, and I was stark bollock naked, and there was no one in the house, and I winded myself just like a body punch, and I was stuck on the ground, and I literally, for about a minute, I actually couldn't move, and I thought I was going to. I literally thought I was going to die. There was no one in the house. I couldn't scream for help because I couldn't make any sound, and I was like, holy fuck, this is what boxers go through. Man, it was absolutely savage. It took about a minute before I could actually get a breath. So, like, when a fella gets hit with a body punch, like, I just don't know how the fuck to get up.
Yeah, and to be fair, you are hard as nails, mate, I guess. So if that happened to you, like, I can see how a lesser man, wouldn't make the count for 10.
That's true. Like, and I was doing, I was the fella who introduced those, the hitting your ribs with the sticks training that Manny Pacquiao did. I introduced Manny to that. We used to beat each other with birches, back in County Meath, down where I'm from. But, so if anybody could get up off a body shot, it would have been me.
What do you make of that line from Paddy Power, mate? 4 to 6? Is that something you'd have a look at on Eubank?
I was looking at it already. That'll come in. That, George Groves, Team Groves is saying that I must have been watching the fight. I was watching the stream, but forgive me if I'm wrong, but was George Grove landing, like, right hands on the button clean a lot? I didn't get that impression watching it.
Landed a lot, yes. I think Groves was lead rights. I don't think he was as effective with his jab.
Clean. Was he clean? Like, I didn't see Cox getting hurt. I thought Cox was using a lot of head movement from what I was on a shitty stream. But I got the impression that Cox was, maybe he was getting caught, but he wasn't getting hurt, that he was rolling punches. Because he was just
caught, and there were a few times I thought Cox got caught. And I'm not going to say he got hurt, but he got
hit. Yeah,
he took some big shots. Yeah, I saw clean shots to the head. I saw Grove land some very good punches to the body. But yeah, I do think Cox was getting hit clean a lot. Yeah.
Did you hear? George Groves must have hired a PR company, is all I'm thinking. Because after the fight, he was saying, "Oh yeah, I picked Jamie Cox because he was the hardest choice." After he went 4 hard rounds and nearly landed on his bollocks, and he was like, "Oh, I better change the fucking story here that he wasn't the shittest one."
Definitely. No, I completely hear you. In hindsight, Yildirim and Skoglund, those guys would have probably both been very, very easy work for Groves, and he's chose someone who's not lasted very long, but put him through the ringer for what he did last. If you were saying McGuigan, Tom, what tactics would you look for Groves to employ against Eubank? Because I don't think Groves is the Billy Joe Saunders style fighter. He's not going to be this slick southpaw. Do you think he's got to look to take Eubank out of there? Do you think he's got to Vladimir Klitschko it and try and jab and hold? Like, what do you think he's going to have to do?
Like George Groves, if you go back and watch the Carl Froch fight, the first one, George Groves now is noticeably slower. What age is Groves now? Is he 30?
No, I've got a feeling George Groves is ridiculously young, but let me just check it as we're talking. I think he's one of these.
Because he looks old, man.
Oh, he's 29, yeah.
But he's big, and I don't know, there's something about his body. It always looks like some white fighters, their bodies always look fucked. That really pasty, translucent skin. Some white guys, like George Groves, even though he's probably muscled, it seems to kind of ripple. It's not hard or anything. And he looks to me slow, like noticeably slower than he was, say, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever that was. And I just don't think, like, he's not going to be able to keep him off on a jab. I just don't think he's good enough to keep him off. He's not going to be keeping him out. So, like, I just think it's a terrible styles matchup for him. Because George Groves, you see how poor he is. I think he's poor on the inside. I think he hates it when guys get in on top of him. He loves to have guys on the end of his jab and on the end of his right hand. But, Eubank loves getting in, and he's fast enough to get in, and I think he's tough enough to get in. And when he gets in, he'll cause more damage than Jamie Cox would. And I just don't see how George Groves wins that fight. Barry, he lands a bomb or something like that. But I just think Eubank will. I just can't make a case for George Groves, bar a puncher's chance, to be honest with you, because I can't see him going 12 rounds as Eubank.
I can't. I mean, my only thing is, I think sometimes my perception is that whilst Eubank Jr. has improved, I still think he is a fairly average fighter from the outside.
But that doesn't matter.
Sometimes Eubank elects to do 3 or 4 rounds on the outside. He elects to have a bit of a look at an opponent, maybe try and sap their stamina before he goes into seek and destroy mode. I mean, if you look back at Eubank fights, Billy Joe Saunders is the obvious one, but even other fights like the Tom Doran fight, for example, he just spends 2 or 3 rounds getting his jab going. Even against Anthony Yildirim, he did a round where he was looking to get his jab going. If he does that against George Groves, I do believe Groves has a puncher's chance, because I do think Groves hits hard and could easily find Eubank's chin. But if Eubank just puts the pedal to the metal, Groves will fold. I could see Groves, and I know this is a ridiculous comment I'm about to make. I could see Eubank potentially stopping him in 2 or 3 rounds of Eubank turning on the gas. And if Eubank elects to turn on the gas from round 1, I could really see Groves worn down, exhausted, and battered to the body and hit with that uppercut within the first couple of rounds, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and Groves' chin is only going to be worse. It's only going to get worse because he's been in some hard wars where Junior is fresh. Like, Junior hasn't really been in any war where he took any punishment. And, I can't, it's one thing Eubank taking a round or 2 to have a look. But, like, I don't think he's going to get beaten up in those 1 or 2 rounds, because he's not just going to give them away. While he had a look at Yildirim, he still won that round clean. And I just think that if he's in danger, like if he's getting, let's just say he tries and do what he did with Billy Joe Saunders and will not fight the first 6 rounds, I don't think he'd make that mistake twice.
No.
The thing is with Junior, we haven't seen him hit on the chin by a big puncher. We haven't seen him hit on the body by a big puncher. Spike Sullivan hit him once, but that's about it. And he was wide open as well, and he wasn't taking Spike seriously. So, it'll be a great fight. And I think that's going to be, if it's a Stamford Bridge, I think that'll sell out. I think them 2 boys, the Super 6, that's about, how many fights have we had now? Is that week 6?
Yeah, I think
we've had 5 really good fights out of 6.
Yeah, that is an open question about Eubank Jr. I mean, a lot of people say he inherited his father's chin, but, I don't know if you inherit a chin. And you're right, he got hit by Spike. Spike's a big puncher at British level, but he's yet to be hit by a decent puncher at world level. Let me just say, 170 of you watching live, less than a quarter of you have hit the thumbs up button. Please help a man out. Hit that thumbs up button so more people can join us. Tom, Stamford Bridge, January. That's got to be an unappealing night, surely. Like a January evening outdoors at a stadium for a fight. I mean, that's tough, isn't it?
I don't know. People go to soccer games in January, don't they? What's the difference?
I guess so, but like you see the soccer players wearing like Under Armour and gloves, and I mean, that's got to be hot.
Man, if you like, I used to be. I was a drummer in a former life, and you play in gigs, and you've got like those bright lights on you, and you'd be fucking pumping sweat.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely pumping sweat. You wouldn't believe how bright and how warm it is under those lighting equipments. And all they need to do is have some heaters, as well. I think it's very doable. You can fit. I think that would sell 40,000 tickets. I think that's a big domestic fight. The
thing is, neither of them have ever been like massive ticket sellers in their own right. I mean, I was at the Eubank Quinlan fight, and that was at Earl's Court, right, which is a smaller venue, and there were loads of spare seats there. Like I know Eubank's profile has subsequently rose, but George Groves, when he's fought at Wembley Arena, he's not sold it out. It's still been easy to get tickets on the day. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but there's no track record of either of these guys selling out. Obviously, Groves fought Frotz, but that was kind of like the two of them made it as a. But maybe Eubanks and Groves can create that vibe again. I guess, who knows?
I think the first George Groves Carl Froch fight, I don't think that's sold out. Carl Froch wasn't an amazing ticket seller for most of his career, and Groves is not. And Eubank, when he fought, what you call the poor lad who was in the coma, Nick Blackwell.
Yes,
that didn't sell at Wembley Arena. Well, that was Wembley Arena, I think, too. Like that. There's about 3,000 of that. Yeah. Eubank is one of these guys who's a Twitter personality and an online, a lot of people are fans, but he's not a ticket seller. I think George Groves is, not a ticket seller, but the two of them together, and it's in this tournament thing, I think it'll do good. And as well as ITV will be able to pump that across numerous different platforms. They may not have, they'll have ITV News, they can put that on ITV Sports, top of the thing, 2 or 3, 4 days. They can get them on all these chat shows and all that nonsense and have stare-offs, and they can pump that. That'll be a big seller if they market it right, because the Eubanks know how to sell themselves, and George Groves knows how to sell a fight. So I think, John Switch, I'd go to that fight. If that's a stadium fight, that'd be one I'd go for. You're going to go, screw the undercard. Who wants an undercard if it's going to be fucking 4 degrees? You just want to go in and have a few pints and go to the thing, which is what most people do anyway. It's only nerds like us who watch the undercards.
Yeah, you're right, mate. You are right. You are right. I've got a tweet from Ryan as we've been on air saying he's had to dip out. He'll listen back tomorrow. Highlight was when Iris called Groves a saved pig. I laughed so hard Ryan woke his son up. So apologies to Ryan's son if you are tuning in now because you've been woken up. Do you think it takes something away from the tournament that this is the semi-final, Tom? Because this is such a big fight. Anything after this is going to be an anti-climax. Let's be honest. The Groves Eubank winner against Callum Smith is going to be a lesser fight than Groves versus Eubank. Structurally, is that something that could maybe kill the momentum of the tournament?
I wouldn't be surprised if Eubanks actually determined that they wanted to be in the same side of the draw as George Groves, so that when they qualify, they'll, win or lose, they get one massive pay-per-view fight. I wouldn't be surprised. But the thing is, I still think if it's Callum Smith or whoever in the other final, it'll still be big because remember all the money that's in it. There'll be a lot of hype around it. Maybe it'll be preferable, but it's the same in Wimbledon or something. Depending on the seeding, sometimes you get lopsided.
Eubank is a big name now, but I guess if he tears through George Groves in 6 rounds, his profile may be on such a cataclysmic new level after that. You know, he may get such a boost from that you know, potentially that could make the final an even bigger fight, because he really does have the potential to be a celebrity. I mean, do you think Eubank can be an Anthony Joshua in terms of his profile? Is that feasible?
I think with the lower weights, you need the fights to do it. You need your opponents. Like Joshua's a heavyweight, and like if you think about why people are excited about him, because heavyweights are special. Good heavyweights have ridiculous knockout percentages. You know, but see, when you go down to the middleweight, somebody like Gennady Golovkin, who's got a lower percentage rate, he's an absolute unbelievable fucking monster. Because a good middleweight might only have a 60% knockout ratio versus a heavyweight with 90. So the heavyweights will always sell just on their power, because people like to see brutes. And I think middleweights and super middles and these, they make their name on their rivalry, like Froch did with Groves. Eubank needed Ben, you know, and Ben needed McClellan, and it was that which sold that division. You know, so I think that, you know, Eubank can be a breakout fighter, but he'll need those key fights to do it. Where, like, I think Anthony Joshua, you know, didn't, you know, he did 1 million pay-per-views for fucking Charles Martin. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The other thing, I do know what you mean. Yeah. I think that.
The other thing as well is that what I was going to say is, like, Hatman did a video on how, like, you know, Eubank has been very well managed by his father, and I have to agree, man. Those two, like, people, all the slagging that they get from Hearn and from and Warren, saying they're ridiculous to deal with and all that. But, like, you know what happens in these things when these promoters, they want to tie you into 4 or 5 match contracts or 3-year contracts. They want options and this, that, and the other. And those boys want to be free. You know, Chris Eubank really knows the business, and you know, he'll be, if he wins this tournament, his son will have $10 million in the bank from those 3 fights.
Yeah,
you know, which is an amazing amount. It's £8 million. There's no British fighter outside of AJ can earn that in a year. You know, and they've done it on their own back. They're tied to nobody. They can go and fight whoever they want, and if they become a breakout star, they can keep all the dough for themselves. So I fully back all of these fighters going and do it themselves. I think fighters get paid too much at the top.
In hindsight, extremely shrewd business move from Eubank Senior. In hindsight, turning down that Golovkin money, turning down that career payday. You know, everyone, including myself, thought he was a moron. Everyone thought Eddie Hearn had provided him with a unique earning opportunity. Hearn couldn't believe it, but the guy has made probably double or treble that, and he hasn't fought Golovkin. He's actually now dominating a tournament which, you know, he's cleaning up in. So extremely shrewd from Senior, perhaps, Tom.
Yeah, I think so. I think Senior misjudged Billy Joe Saunders. He probably thought his son was slightly more advanced at that time, and Billy Joe wasn't as good, as slick at the time too. And I think that they just misjudged that. And but apart from that, you know, I think they've done it very well. And the other fighter that people are giving out, you know, I hate all these. I hate when boxing podcasts, I think of like Steve Kim and these guys, and they give out about, say, Mikey Garcia trying to go his own way and try and like to do 1-fight contracts, you know, and talk about how it's the business and all that. Look, these fighters, I think fighters get paid too much anyway. I don't think they deserve their money at the top end, but I prefer to see them get it than a guy who just sits in an office or who's got a bit of chat about them. They're the guys going through the mill. If anybody's going to get it, not a rich boy like Eddie Hearn or a rich boy like Frank Warren's kids or whoever. I prefer to see the actual fighter who's putting in risking their lives get the money. And Eddie Hearn will be, Eddie Hearn took an L tonight, and he'll be sick if the Eubanks come out. And basically, I think probably Eubank is probably the number 2 fighter in the UK at this moment.
I agree
for drawing power.
I think he is a number 2.
Maybe not ticket sales. I think Frampton's a bit... Sorry.
No, you go for it, mate. You go.
I was saying, like, maybe not ticket sales. I think Frampton is a bigger ticket seller. But I think as in, like, Frampton's coming towards the edge. But I think the fella who might be one, you know, Eubank looks like he's going to be the star, you know, the second star of British boxing. And fair play to them for managing to do it without being tied into a promoter and having to...
Yeah, I agree with you about the one fight contract thing. I certainly agree he's the number 2 name in British boxing. I mean, you could maybe say David Hay still. You could maybe say like Amir Khan, Kell Brook. But for me, I think Eubank is certainly there. With the one fight contracts, I also agree. I would say I think they've only been able to do that because of the surname. I think the difficulty is that for other fighters, promoters from a business perspective may need multi-fight deals, as there is an element of investment. You know, when they're taking a younger fighter, maybe, you know, you look at Billy Joe Saunders, look how much investment Frank's had to put into him to get him to where he is, you know, bringing in opponents, having venues that haven't sold out, you know, having world title fights up in leisure centres in Scotland. You know, from a promotional perspective, if there wasn't multi-fight contracts, that sort of stuff wouldn't be going on. But the fact that Eubanks have done that...
It's true, but, you know, it is difficult. I think it's impossible for most fighters because they're not good enough. Like, when fighters are, like, all of a muchness, say, like, they're all a British Commonwealth or whatever kind of a level, they're literally like just a commodity. You can change Liam Cameron and put Sam Sheedy in, and you know, it makes no difference. But if a guy is a star, they can work it. Like David Hay managed to always be his own man, but that's because he was a star. You could see he had that star quality, and certainly it's easier if you're a gold medal to keep it, or if you're a Eubank son. You know what I mean? It's easier to do it, but it's hard. And, you know, every fucking promoter will be slagging everybody who tries it, you know, to do it. So I just think the fighters shouldn't get slagged for it. Did you watch the Sam Sheedy, Liam Cameron fight, the free one that was on the other night, last night? No,
I didn't, mate. Good fight.
That's a good fight. Man, that was a great... Sam Sheedy sold so hard. I don't know if anybody in the chat saw it. That was great. Compared, like, I didn't watch the Next Gen. Do you know what I watched last night? I watched...
your Twitter, yeah.
I saw Duran against... Have you seen that fight?
Yeah.
Gossip.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Fight, right? Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's... Duran... I haven't seen that fight in about 6 years. And I was like, Duran is just something unbelievable. Like, imagine coming up from lightweight, man. Imagine he went up to super middleweight and won a middleweight. Again, he beat Aaron Barkley. He beat Barkley, who beat Tommy Hearns, and he went up from lightweight to middle or super middleweight. Imagine that.
Yeah. I think Floyd Mayweather said he was one of the top 3 greatest fighters of all time, Duran. And you can see it.
I think
stuff.
Yeah, God, it's just ridiculous. If anybody in the chat hasn't seen that fight, it's just absurdly good fight.
What about well, I'm going to bring some breaking news, and I'm going to give a shout out to regular viewer Mikey. Tom, one of our favourite fighters, Kevin Johnson, has scored a stunning KO victory over heavily favoured Francisco Pianeta today.
Who knocked him out?
Kevin Johnson knocks him out. The Kingpin.
Yeah, but Pianeta. Oh yeah, like the Kingpin has never knocked anyone out ever. Is that correct?
Well, I'm sorry he's not 1 or 2 up, but he's never knocked anyone of any note out. Let's put it that way.
Do you know what? Like that one when Kingpin fought Pulev. Did you see that fight?
Yeah. That was horrible.
It was horrible, but like I presumed he was just there to pick up a paycheck.
Yeah.
He basically sat on the ropes and rope-a-doped and like managed to survive 12 rounds of Pulev trying to knock him out. So like maybe he's back looking for some proper paychecks, because in that Pulev fight you can't say he didn't fight with heart.
No, absolutely. And looking at his resume now, he knocked out Pianetta, who fought Klitschko. He knocked out Alex Leopai, who fought Klitschko. He went the distance with Tyson Fury. He went the distance with Christian Hamer. Went the distance with Chisora and Manuel Charr. He knocked out Solomon Hamono, who fought Joseph Parker relatively recently. Beat Julius Long. Knocked out Harold Skonies, who famously dropped Deontay Wilder. I mean, Kingpin is back.
And, you know,
Kingpin is back.
He was unlucky not to go to distance with Joshua.
I thought he was beating Joshua till that phantom punch landed.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. Did you watch John Ryder tonight, Tom?
No, I missed it. Was he won by knockout or something?
Mate, he was actually pretty devastating, you know. Like, I don't know what's happened, but Ryder at 160, he was one of these fighters I kind of put in the Paul Smith category. He's moved up in weight class, and he was very, very good against Adam Etches. He took Rocky Fielding very close, and now he's knocking out #1 rated fighters by like devastation. I mean, fair play to him. How hot is this British super middleweight mix? Eddie Hearn obviously works with Ryder. He could
I'm telling you,
Ryder or Fielding against Cox, couldn't he?
Yeah, well, I'm telling you now. But the thing is, did you see a man he was fighting? What was his name again? Nielsen.
Patrick Nielsen, yeah.
Yeah, like Patrick Nielsen, you know, it was obvious to anybody looking at that fight that he was suffering from blood poisoning. I'd never seen a man covered in more tattoos. They were even going up the back of his neck. He cut his hair short, you know, in a step, and then he tattooed up the back of his head. That, you know, he's obviously suffering from some type of food, you know, blood poisoning from excessive tattooing.
Oh, indeed. Did you see Eubank's other son got knocked out as well?
Yes, I heard that one. I didn't see it now.
Yeah.
But he's no good. He's slow as ditch water.
Yeah, I've seen him box before live. I saw him box at your call once, and he looked very, very raw. I think he's older as well. I think he may even be older than Chris Eubank Jr. He's obviously come to the game very, very late. So it's going to be tough for him to come back from that. You know.
Is it just me, or does anybody else use that expression as slow as ditch water? Is it as dull as ditch water? What is that expression?
Dull, not slow.
Dull. Yeah. The one that just
slow as molasses is the usual one.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Slow as molasses in a ditch water.
There you go. So you didn't watch Next Gen yesterday, Tom. That makes two of us. I did check out.
I watched the highlights. I watched the knockouts, and I watched some of the stuff then afterwards. I couldn't be fucking sitting through it.
Yeah, Isaac Chamberlain's a decent prospect, isn't
he? Yeah, he's slick. You know, yeah. He will. A lot of these guys that look like they're good punchers at domestic level, he'll go up and he'll beat them. You know, he's essentially the Tyrone Nurse of the cruiserweight division. Yeah, he won't be able to probably go above it. But like, you know, a Coley or these guys, he just schooled them, and he's tough. You know.
Yeah. He could be a good betting proposition, though, couldn't he? Because if he fights a Coley tomorrow, don't be surprised if a Coley's 1-10 on or something like that, you know?
Yeah, or the bookies will have in favour. Coley will probably be like 1-2 or something like that, and it'll just be easy money, you know. But I think Eubank is like a 90% favourite in that fight. I think 4-6 is great money.
4-6 is generous. I'm going to have another look right now and see if any of the other bookmakers have put up any lines, because sometimes it's at this point of the betting market where you see like quite vast discrepancies, and in fact the discrepancies have come through even since we've been live. So Sky Bet go 5-6 on the fight for Chris Eubank Jr. to win, whereas Bet365 are as low as 8-13. So in the world of bookmaking, that is a very substantial disagreement, isn't it?
What was it? Name the two prices, because you cut out from my internet shit.
Bet365 8-13.
Yeah.
Sky Bet 5-6.
Wow, 5-6. They're still offering that.
Yep. They've just updated it at 5-6. So Sky Bet have Groves as evens. 365 have Groves as big as 13-10.
Wow.
So a real substantial disagreement between bookmakers. I would imagine, my personal advice to gamblers out there is that if you were inclined to take those odds, I would take them immediately. Don't be surprised if those odds have gone in 1 hour. I would be very surprised if 5 to 6 is still available in a week's time. Generally, when the bookmakers disagree on a fight that broadly, I would guess the weight of public money will bring the line more even across the board. Would you agree, Tom?
I would, and I just think that I think Eubank will end up being a 1 to 2 favourite in that fight, or maybe even closer, maybe a 2 to 5 favourite.
It wouldn't surprise me. The weight of public. I mean, let's look back to that Billy Joe Saunders Chris Eubank Jr. fight. Billy Joe Saunders was an extremely substantial favourite going into that fight. I think the day before he was something like 4 to 6. On the day, remarkably, Chris Eubank Jr. started as favourite. You don't generally see shifts like that in a sport like boxing. You see it in something like horse racing, where something like the weather and the ground can change the market so dramatically. But in boxing, when we know so far out, what's going to be the case, you don't tend to see such massive drifts. But the weight of public money behind Eubank Jr. made him a favourite that day, presumably because of the celebrity surname that he has.
My money was on him too.
I was on Saunders that day, Tom, so I was delighted to collect some of your money, mate.
And I had a double. On Tyson Fury to beat Chisora. And I don't know what I think I was due 500 quid or something.
Okay.
And I was fucking sick.
Yes,
and I was, the security was so bad that night at that fight that myself and my mate Niall, we managed to just walk up, and we're only about 5 rows from the front. And we're nearly ringside, and we're like, "Fuck it, this is brilliant." And then he lost the decision. I was gutted, and that night it took me. I only live about 3 miles away from there, and it took me about 5 hours to get home because all the fucking tubes were quit. Frank Warren fucking fight.
Dear, oh dear. Yeah, it went on far too late, didn't it? If I recall.
I think Tyson Fury didn't finish fighting until nearly 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I went to a Frank Warren Bill at Wembley Arena once. This is 4 or 5 years ago now. It was the main event was Cleverly Krasniqi, and I remember Chisora fought Hector Avila after Cleverly, and I wanted to watch Chisora fight because I'm a heavyweight fan, and I couldn't watch him fight unfortunately because the last train from Wembley, left at a certain time. So, Derek Chisora, it was actually a packed arena that night, bizarrely. Chisora ended up fighting in front of about 50 people. It's the last fight of the night, which was. Anyway, I'm rambling now, but yeah, got to have these fights on at a sensible time, surely.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's the World Super Sixes. They're on the time because they're going in all these different countries.
Yeah,
and they're on at 10 o'clock, and they have it at 10. And I think that's great. I like the fight to be on early. I much prefer to have it at 10. Even Sky sometimes have them at 10:30. Sometimes they're not finishing up till if the fight goes 12 rounds, it could be nearly 11:30 at night before it's finished.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I mean, where I am at the minute, it is 7 o'clock. And it's actually, I know it sounds silly, but it's actually quite nice to be done with the boxing at 7 o'clock. I understand it gets in the way of people eating dinner and stuff. But I'm not one of these people who feels the need to sort of stay up till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning to watch a fight. That doesn't add anything to me. It just makes the next morning more difficult. But there you go. Hey, maybe I'm just old before my time.
Yeah, well, the big fight tonight is the step out fight of Erickson Lubin. Yeah, who has come in?
Because I've just found myself with an empty. I'm traveling early tomorrow morning, so I may watch that. I don't. He signed with the rapper Lil Wayne, hasn't he, Tom?
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. What's wrong with these fighters?
That is a real. I mean, Lil Wayne may be a good guy. He may chuck a load of money at it, but this is a guy with no history in the sport, as far as I'm aware. And we've seen hip hop stars like 50 Cent and Jay-Z entered the sport before, and it's just how hard is it going to be for Lubin to generate the activity he's going to need with such an unknown person behind him, you know?
Yeah, it is a weird one.
Lubin available at 11 to 8 tonight, which is interesting because the public perception on my channel is that he will win.
Yeah. Like I think I'm trying to see now if I got accounts with anything that's got a decent price for him. He's favourite though on some websites.
Is he?
One website I see he's favourite, and evens. He's 2 websites, 3, 4. He's favourite on 4, 5.
Yeah.
So it's obviously fairly evenly split. Sporting bet you get 27 to 20. Wow.
Yeah,
I suppose it's the same. That's
yeah. That is a big price. That is a big,
isn't it?
Yeah. So triple header tonight is Sunday Lara and Jared Hurd versus Austin Trout as well. So still some boxing to come. Are you going to wait up for it, or are you going to catch up with it at a later date?
Yeah, my missus is coming now. I'm going to get my balls handed to me. So I'm going to run.
All right, mate. Good to speak to you. Have a good evening.
All right, Gossip. Good luck. Goodbye to the chat. See you now.
Cheers, Tom. Thanks very much to Irish Tom for joining. Always makes it more entertaining when I've got someone to bounce off. 175 of you sticking with me. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. About half of you have hit the thumbs up button. Doesn't do that. Also, shout out to the 2 people who have subscribed during the course of this broadcast. If you're tuning in for the first time in this live stream, if you haven't done so before, please do take the time to hit that subscribe button so you can follow what we're doing here and check out all of the other stuff. Let's go to the chat. I'll probably stay on for about another 10 minutes or so. Usual rule applies. I'm not going to read anything out unless it's got hashtag BG, because I get, it's hard to keep up with the entire chat. So if you want to ask a question, or if you want your comment read out, as long as it's not outrageously libelous, I'll read it out. If you just put the hashtag BG after what you're saying, if you don't put that, I'll assume you're just interacting with someone else and you don't necessarily want it read out. So Mikey, Nurse Catterall prediction. Mikey, I know you're Tyrone Nurse's biggest devotee, and I like Tyrone Nurse. My inclination is to go for Catterall, mate. I think Nurse is a guy who looks very good at the lower levels. Nurse is a guy with all the skills, all the slickness, but I think that as he steps up in level, he's got a tendency to get involved in scraps. He's got a tendency to sit in the ropes. And I think a guy like Jack Catterall is possibly destined for a higher level. For what it's worth, I like Nurse's style. I kind of view him as the kind of Malik Scott of the light welterweight class. And, if anything, I'll be rooting with you for Tyrone Nurse. So my heart is saying Nurse, but I'm going to go with my head and say that I just think Nurse is a bit of a flawed fighter who gives up too much in fights, and I think Jack Catterall will take the fight, mate. Thomas, BG, have you seen Luis Ortiz has had another drug test controversy? I have not, but that would be interesting. I'll look that up. Team Groves, BG, Liam Smith has just tweeted he's baffled by the Eubank hype after beating Just Yildirim. I kind of agree with him for once. It's not just beating Yildirim, though, is it? Let's be honest. I mean, he smashed up Arthur Abraham. He's run through British level. And he's looking, it's not just beating Yildirim, it's the manner with which he beat Yildirim that's so impressive. Stylistically, Eubank causes so many problems. One thing I would agree with is that he hasn't had the same sort of test that he faced when he lost. He hasn't faced that mover, that awkward fighter, that slickster, and that's going to be a key test. Stevie says, BG, what happened to Prince Patel? I understand Prince Patel had a fight recently, actually, on an undercard abroad. I think he's doing a comeback sort of slowly and under the radar. I'm not sure that's true, Stevie. But I believe he's had a fight relatively recently, last couple of weeks. Toby, is BG says, is Lubin a top 10 pound for pound fighter? No. Is he a top 10 like middleweight fighter? Potentially. Sahel, BG, give us your thoughts on Khan versus Brook. It's so hard for me to even talk about that fight, Sahel. Like, we've talked about it so many times. I'm genuinely bored over it. If it did happen, I'd go for Brook based on Khan's lack of punch resistance. Rapid says BG, Errol Spence versus Furman, who wins? Great fight. Real 50-50. Both of them have shown vulnerabilities. For me, Errol Spence was en route to be getting stopped. Not stopped, to be getting outboxed by Kell Brook, but he weathered that storm, adapted, and came through it. As for Keith Furman, he's had some problems in his career. He's been vulnerable at times. I find it so hard to pick a winner in that fight. So hard. I'm going to edge to Keith Furman by a whisker. Just I think Spence can be outboxed from range. Mikey's saying Marcus Kelly will be a force at heavyweight. You never know. Nathan, evening Nathan, is saying Eubank will destroy Groves. Mark says, would you like to see Cox versus Ryder? Why not? Cox versus Ryder, Cox versus Fielding. Let's match these guys up. They're not getting any younger. They're not at world level. Let's put them in meaningful fights against each other. And then, it's going to generate more interest. And that's the kind of education that Jamie Cox needs, It's that sort of British to European level fighter that he's missed out on tonight. Let's have a look. Wow, there's so much in the chat. I'm going to apologise now if I miss what you're saying in the chat, because every time I scroll down, it jumps like 20 people, and it's a lot of people. Modern Broadcast, BG, is it inevitable that Eubank pulls out of the Gross fights? We know the Eubanks don't do things to the script. My instincts tell me this fight's going to happen. This is a great platform for Eubank. This tournament is being a huge success, and this is an opportunity to raise his profile to new levels. Groves looks very beatable, and we know that Groves and Eubank are both going to get paid very, very well for their involvement here. So my suspicion is that this goes ahead. But yeah, with Eubanks, you never want to bet your mortgage on anything. James Brock, BG, Callum Smith versus Eubank prediction. Eubank all day. I think he just walks Smith down, gets on the inside, and I don't think Smith knows what to do with him on the inside. Moldy says, BG, what's the best fight you've seen live? The fight you've been most hyped for? Well, the fight I've been most hyped for was probably Tyson Fury versus Klitschko. The best fight I've seen live? I guess I've seen some amazing fights at York Hall. I'll pull up the best fight I've seen live at York Hall. Pull it up. Seen good fights, that at a high level, but I'm just going to find out the name of this one individual, which was one of the best fights I've ever seen live. Heavyweight prospect Charlie Duffield losing to 5-18 journeyman Vladimir Idranyi, 10th of June 2016. I was ringside for that fight live. Amazing scrap. Mikey says, BG, Tyson Dong, who I believe is the 7'3" heavyweight prospect, is doing a WWE tryout for real. Well, good to hear that, because his future wasn't in boxing, let me tell you. Modern Broadcast says, BG, Prince Patel is fighting on undercards in Eastern Europe. No joke. Yeah, that's what I heard. BG, if Groves fought Yildirim, who'd win? You'd have to assume Groves would just box his head off from range and stop him. You look decent, says Charlo wins. Lubin a young beast, though. Ed Harris says, BG, who beats Eubank at super middleweight? Right now, it's hard to predict anyone to confidently beat Eubank Jr. What I would say, the guys I'd give the highest chance, James DeGale, Gilberto Ramirez. Boxing fan, BG, did you forget your saver or did your missus like the caveman look? A little bit of both, mate. Paul Armstrong, BG, what effect on pay-per-view sales will Sunday night have on Hey Bellew 2? I think Eddie's messed up. I think Eddie's actually got a fair point that with it being the Sunday before Christmas, people are going to be a bit more relaxed and a bit more chilled out. I do kind of see what you mean that, you know, Sunday night isn't generally associated with the boxing. But I don't really, I mean, for me personally, having it on a Sunday doesn't lessen it in any way. You know, it may put me off buying a ticket for the event because I wouldn't want to get late home and, you know, I wouldn't want to necessarily drink too much before work. But from watching it at home on my sofa, for me, it doesn't actually lessen anything. So let's see. M Star, BG, Al Heyman is with Lil Wayne Music. Okay, well, I didn't know that. So if what you're saying is that Lubin is essentially working with Al Heyman, then that's a far more sensible move. Toby says, BG, will the podcast boys ever go to a show together? It's possible. The problem I have with attending shows these days is firstly my working schedule. So I work Saturdays and I've got a recurring family commitment Sunday mornings. So, you know, I like covering the fights. I like doing post-fight videos and live shows for you guys and stuff. And obviously, if I attend a fight, I can't do that, or I can't do that till significantly after the event. So, you know, in many ways, for me, I'm one of these boxing fans. I do go to the fights. I probably go 3 or 4 times a year, and I enjoy it when I go. But I'm increasingly someone who's happy to sit at home, and you know, I probably go to less boxing than I did 2 or 3 years ago, being frank. Let's have a look. Rapid BG. Let's say Eubank wins the Super 8 competition. Who does he fight next? It's got to be James DeGale. Got to be James DeGale. Huge money fight. That would be for the #1 spot in the super middleweight division. Mikey, BG, how far can Tom Little go? I've always really liked Tom Little. Not the biggest puncher in the world, but skilled, slick, technical, good combination puncher. You know, I like him. He's not been active, and he's allowed himself to be in poor physical condition on several occasions. Those have been huge negatives. Had a very, very good win tonight, as you know, Mikey, against Josh Sandland, who's a real good fighter, even though he's only 2-0. So Tom Little's starting to make waves. He's 30 years old. His time is now. He can enter that mix. You know, I'm not saying he necessarily can win a British title because I believe the division is so stacked right now. Could he get a win over a Nick Webb? Could he get a win over a Dominic Akinlade? Absolutely. With guys like, he could probably get a win over a Dave Allen, being frank, Mikey. With guys in the division like, you know, the likes of a Gorman and a Dubois, these guys are destined for the top. And you just wonder if Tom Little stepped in with one of them, would they have a little bit too much for him? I suspect they probably would. DJ Slicks, BG, did you watch last night's stuff? What did you think of the new gen? I didn't watch it. No, DJ Slicks. I've seen a few clips, but no, I haven't watched it in enough detail to really discuss it. James Bra, Canelo versus Jacobs prediction. Tight fight. Judges give it to Canelo. Possibly my least bold prediction. Archie, BG, who meets Eubank in the final? In all likelihood, probably Callum Smith. I don't completely rule out Jürgen Bremer, you know. I don't know what Bremer's going to be like at the weight because, you know, he's an old guy who's been around for years. Cutting down in weight class is going to be hard, but don't be surprised for me. A lot of people saying this Rob Braun. I think Jürgen Bremer could surprise a few people in this tournament, but I might be wrong. But you'd have to say Callum Smith is the most likely fighter to beat him in the final. Mikey says, BG, pick for Webb versus Gorman. In my opinion, Gorman schools him and takes him out late. Absolutely. I think they're completely different levels, Mikey. I think Gorman could end up being a top 10 ranked heavyweight. I think Nick Webb is at his limit, to be frank. DJ Slicks, BG, do you see Brandt being the dark horse as Ward was? No, I think Brandt might get taken out by Bramer, in fact. But I haven't seen a lot of Brandt now. I have not seen a lot of Brandt. So if you've seen more of him than me, you'll know better. Team Groves says, okay, I'm not going to read that out, Team Groves, because I haven't seen it with my own eyes. But Team Groves is making a reference to crowd trouble at the boxing tonight, and I'm gonna be honest and say that boxing is a violent sport, and when I go to fights, it is very rare you go to a fight night and you don't see crowd trouble. Let me put it this way, I've probably been to 10 fight nights in the last 2 years, and I would say that over half of them I've seen significant trouble. And it really is something that makes you think before you go to your event, especially if you want to bring your missus, or especially if you're someone who wants to bring your children to the event. It's it does make you think, I'm afraid. And maybe I'm a coward, maybe I'm soft as hell, but I'll be honest and say that does play into my rationale when I'm thinking, do I attend event or not? Moldy, BG, who would win? Badu Jack versus Adonis Stevenson. Do you think it will get made? I saw Adonis Stevenson in Twitter saying big fight to be announced, and I'm hoping it could be the Badu Jack fight. I think it's a great 50-50. I'd side with Badu Jack. I actually think Badu Jack is a very, very good fighter these days, and I think he might work out a guy like Adonis Stevenson, who's quite predictable. And I think Adonis Stevenson's age and small size and lack of meaningful fights in recent years could end up catching up with him. John Davis says, you're not a coward, BG, it's just pathetic. And it's sad, and it's at all levels, I'm afraid. The last time I was at your call, there was pretty bad violence. I've been to events at football stadiums where I've seen pretty bad violence. John says, who wants to have a night out and get into rucks? Well, the sad thing is a lot of people. Mikey, BG, Groves versus Elida Alvarez at 175. Who wins? Good fight. Possibly Groves. I think Groves would be a better fighter at 175. The thing is, Groves has never had the best punch resistance in the world, and they hit a lot harder up there. I just think he looks like a zombie at the weigh-ins, and I think his lack of stamina and his vulnerability and his fragility in fights may well relate to the fact that he cuts so much weight. Josh says, BG, do you think Conor Benn could become one of the biggest names in British boxing? He's got the marketability. I just don't think he's got the talent, Josh. I think he'll get found out quite early on. Like a Lawrence Sokoli, I think when they get sort of British level, they'll get found out. And I think that will prevent them from getting to where they need to be. James says, BG, do you think Kelv's career is finished? I don't think his career is finished. I think he's still got huge earning potential. I still think he could fight Amir Khan and do 1 million pay-per-view buys and sell out Wembley Stadium. And I still think he can get world title fights and even win world title fights. But do I think he'll hit the heights that we've seen before in his career? No, I do not. Team Grove says, well, going to watch guys fight legally with gloves, then there's idiots starting scraps. Archie says he's seen multiple rumours that Joshua could be leaving Hearn. What do you think? Irish Tom was saying this in the podcast the other day, that he thinks Joshua is ambitious and wants to be a billionaire and will set up on his own. I don't think he should. I think the money he's making at the minute, he doesn't need to be, that's enough money to keep anyone happy. And I think Eddie Hearn is such a valuable asset. And the way Hearn's built and managed Joshua's career to date has been extremely commendable. And I think Joshua has to acknowledge that Eddie Hearn actually adds a lot of value in terms of making the right fights for the right time. Mikey says Ortiz is now stripped of his WBA mandatory, so who does AJ fight next after Pulev? Great question, Mikey. Great question. I'm going to need to look this story up. Clearly, it's a developing story. I did see a rumor that he could fight Parker in February. Clearly, that's a fight that would do some good business. Connor says, Gossip, what do you think of Fury's alleged comeback plans in 2018? I'm Tyson Fury's biggest fan. He's my favourite fighter. Even I'm bored of his comeback plans, Connor. Let's see when he gets down another 3 or 4 stone and announces a fight and gets a license. Then I'll start getting excited. Before then, it's going to be hard to get me buzzed for his return. Modern Broadcast, BG, do you think it's right that Brook is still going to be a pay-per-view fighter even though he's lost his last 2? Well, firstly, I don't know if that's true. Maybe Eddie Hearn said it. I don't know. For me, pay-per-view has always been a supply and demand thing. It's like any other business. If people are going to pay the 20 quid to watch a fighter fight for 20 quid, then they're a pay-per-view fighter. You know, Guillermo Rigondeaux, some people say he's the best fighter in the world. No one's going to pay 20 quid to watch him fight. As a result, he's not a pay-per-view fighter. If Kell Brook has lost 2, if he's on the slide, if people are still going to pay 20 quid to watch him, then yes, he is a pay-per-view fighter. For me, it's like any other sort of business, really. It's supply and demand. Would Coca-Cola sell cans of Coca-Cola for 50p if they could sell them for 10 quid and people would still buy them? Of course they wouldn't. You know, we'll see. We'll see. Will the public continue to support Kell Brook pay-per-views at £20 a go? If the answer is yes, he remains a pay-per-view fighter. I know boxing fans don't like my view on that, but that is my take. I'm going to have to shoot off in a minute now, guys, so let me just rattle through a few more quickly. Have you ever paid above face value for a ticket to a fight? No. Joss, BG, do you think Dave Allen looks in good enough shape to beat Thomas? Yes, I do. It was a close fight last time. He looks in far better shape. If that gives him an extra 5 or 10%, that may do enough. Really, though, Thomas was a low volume, low stamina fighter himself in the last fight. The biggest concern for Allen, for me, is technically rather than shape. John, BG, have you seen Benavidez fight? What do you think of him? Discussed that a few times before. I don't think Benavidez is all that great. Really didn't impress me last time out. You know, he looked really average last time out, but I know people rate him very highly, so I need to see more of him. Few people asking me about the light middleweight fights tonight. We'll see if I stay up. I'm not sure I will because I've got an early start tomorrow, but I'm on US time, so we'll see what we can do. I don't have I haven't done my research on the opponents in the light middleweight scene and enough to have strong predictions. Reality, BG, have you ever paid for a ladies' company? When you look like this, when you can grow a beard like this, you don't need to pay for a ladies' company. Reality. Mikey, BG, Pickford, Bullioni, Johnson. Bill Banks says, I don't care about your time. No offense. Well, you're the one tuning into my channel, Bill Banks. I don't tune into yours. So, take from that what you will, sir. BG, Mikey says, BG picks for Bullioni Johnson. 50-50 fight, potentially a good fight. Callum Johnson could spring the upset, Mikey. I think Bullioni is a very overrated fighter. Team Groves, BG, whoever wins this tournament, I think the Gale has a pay-per-view summer fight lined up. I totally agree. Totally agree, Team Groves. I think you're spot on there. Mikey says, BG put Bill to sleep. John says, well said, BG. Have that, Bill. CM Fox, how bad was Nielsen tonight? Apart from British, Irish, and Eastern Europeans, other people can't fight. Well, I think that's a bit of a generalisation, but yeah, Nielsen was pretty average tonight. Let's have a look. Modern Broadcast says Bill just got iced brutally. Matthew Nisbet, can Kevin Johnson win a world title this year? I think he could unify, you know. He's got momentum now. Mark, out of those three, I've only seen Tony Yoka, so I'm going to have to go with him, mate. But maybe time for me to check out the other two. Adam's asking me about Ryan Burnett. I still haven't seen enough of Zakiyanov on my travels, Adam. So I need to look him up a bit more ahead of this fight. Archibald says, BG, you're on a business trip. Best job in the world. I was on a business trip. I've done a little bit of a holiday either side of the business trip, Archie. So, yeah, it's not been all work. Bit of fun from time to time as well. I've put on, I'm in America, so we're talking American money. I've put on about £20 in as many days. I'm a heavyweight at the minute. Sam says, BG, pick for Chisora Cabile. You guys are exposing me for my lack of research because I've been well below par on my usual research since I've been on this trip. But yeah, I haven't seen enough of Cabile. I've had mixed reports on him. Some people tell me he's good. Some people tell me useless. Sahel, BG, Eubank versus Billy Joe rematch. Who you got? I don't think Eubanks ever goes down to 160 again. I don't think he'd make the weight. If he did, I'd see it as a 50-50 fight. I think Billy Joe would still cause Eubanks a lot of the problems he caused him previously, so I'd be inclined to go with Billy Joe. Mikey, sadly not. I will actually be returning to Great Britain Monday night, Tuesday, so I'm finishing up my trip soon. Gurgura says Stavone and Wilder still unconfirmed. Okay, yeah, I haven't seen that confirmed at any point soon. So there we go, guys. That's me. I'm done for the night. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Still 160 of you, so thanks to everyone who's watched, especially you guys who have been watching from the start. Over 100 people have hit the thumbs up, 110 to be precise. Every single one of you who've done that, massively appreciate it. Let's see if we've had any new subscribers jump on since I last mentioned it. We've had another subscriber jump on, so thanks very much to that person. Thanks to everyone who's already an existing subscriber. And if you're not, join the movement, hit subscribe so you can check out all of my other stuff. This will be uploaded. God, I've actually been live for 1 hour 17, much longer than I thought. So this will be uploaded. It will probably, because it's been such a long show, it'll probably take a good half an hour to upload properly to the channel. But if you want to watch it back, if you only joined halfway through and want to zoom back to the start and hear all of Irish Tom's take, you can certainly do that when it's been uploaded again. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. Leave your comments, hit the thumbs up, please press subscribe. Hope everyone's doing well. You never know. I've got a travel day tomorrow, so I may be able to pop up with something during the day. Certainly on Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to be completely offline. The aim is to do the podcast as per normal on Wednesday. With that, I will sign out. And Stefan, there's your wave, mate. Have a good evening, everyone.